Hey guys, Dale here, back with a brand new RimWorld series. Welcome to what I'm going to be calling Shatterpoint. This is basically going to be a series to bring back some characters from this whole year. So we're going to be kind of like celebrating the year with the end of the year approaching by bringing colonists from our various series together. So let's take a look at what that kind of means. So this year I started doing YouTube again back in April, like middle, end of April, with the Mandalorian series. So we're going to be basically potentially seeing up to 3 pawns from each of these series. It'll be Mandalorians, Placeholder, Return of the Sith, Viking Wolf, our Rim Effect Project Lita series, Deserters, and the Arwindon series that we just finished. So the past few days, I've been doing some polls actually. So we are actually starting with Rad as one of our starting 3 colonists. So he'll be kind of like our frontline tank to start with. I put in Toba's name, but it's actually Biara, who was our mechanator slash vampire. So excuse the misplaced name, but we'll be starting with Biara instead, because I think everyone assumed like, oh, we're bringing a vampire in, because obviously I got Braxa correct, right? And so our third colonist will be Kieran from the Mandalorian. So we're starting off with Rad originally from Return of the Sith, Biaro from our Placeholder series, and Kieran from our Mandalorian series. Let's go ahead and take a look. I always like to pop open Graphics Setter and show you guys kind of like the mods that are bringing in the most like textures, which feels like content, right? So textures expanded, facial animation, outer rim, outland genetics, a lot more out of rim, some texture upscale mods for biotech, vanilla casting, alpha animals, some more Star Wars content, and the list just goes on and on. But let's take a look at some of the like kind of key mods that made some of those previous series that we brought back in for this series to take place. So Werewolves is back. Viking Wolves, our little Viking clan, started out as like 5 werewolf colonists. I did make an edit during that season, and I'm bringing that same edit to this series. And that is we are using the textures from Morrowind Blood Moon to replace the werewolf textures in the werewolves mod. I believe, I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure we have Morrowind Blood Moon, and we have it enabled so that blood moons can happen for any storyteller. So that is a mechanic from Viking Wolf that'll also be returning, is that we're going to have to deal with blood moons and werewolves that get stronger and stronger each time a blood moon happens. Outer Rim and a bunch of the other Outer Rim mods, like the Mandalorian module, the Rebel module, just like lots of production buildings, lots of research, and lots of different types of like gear and weapons. Considering we were really, really heavy with Star Wars series, 3 out of the 7 series we did this year were Star Wars. We need some of that content in here in order to bring colonists back and to equip them the way that we would expect them to be equipped. Galactic diversity makes a return. Some of our colonists that are returning are actually going to be aliens from this mod. So like Rad, one of our starting colonists, is an Itachi. I don't know how to pronounce that. His wife is a Twi'lek. In Deserters we had Wookiees, we had all kinds of other aliens as well from the Star Wars universe, so potentially we could see some of those. Vanilla sidecasting expanded is back. It's something that I wish we would have used in Placeholder series, because we were tribal and everyone was a sidecaster, and it was just kind of like annoying to deal with not vanilla sidecasting expanded, but just like plain sidecasting, trying to remember who has what and utilizing it to like max benefit. it's easier with vanilla sidecasting expanded because you can have them auto cast certain spells and other stuff. To complement that, there is this new mod. I think it just came out in the past like week or two. Star Wars: The Force sidecasting add-on, posted on November 30th, updated just recently on the 9th, so just a couple days yesterday. Yesterday was the 9th. Okay. But we're going to try and use this for our force powers. So it adds a few new trees to vanilla sidecasting expanded. It adds a dark side tree. It doesn't have description of what all those dark side abilities are. So we'll take a look at it. A light side tree, a force sensitive tree, and a telekinesis tree. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. If needed, we might use some of the force powers from the force mod. We did have this installed because we also have lightsabers. Rad is a lightsaber wielder, and in order for him to be effective with a lightsaber, he needs to have this skill tree filled in. They do basically like no damage with lightsabers if they don't have any points in lightsaber offense here, if you're using the lightsaber mod that was intended to go with the force. So I do have that mod because I want deflection and all that other stuff that comes with it. That's pretty cool. But we probably won't utilize any of these force powers. We'll see how things go. Other mods that we've added to complement the force mod. This mod came out while I was doing the Deserters series. I had kind of like manually retextured some of the Jedi apparel and stuff using some textures from the Outer Rim mods that weren't being used at the time. And this mod has kind of like does some retexturing of the force abilities. So like the lightning looks cooler if we end up using that. These meditation pads look a little bit more RimWorldy and a little bit more modern, and the force robes just look a whole lot better. So I'm excited to be using that. Vanilla Factions expanded Vikings. So part of the Viking Wolf series was they were Vikings. It was tech limited series. So like the style of the apparel here is potentially going to make a return for Vikings as they show up in the series. Like that's what they're comfortable wearing. So we'll see how much we stick to that, or see if maybe we can go and find some of the like crypto gear for them, because maybe they want to modernize as they see everyone else like wearing power armor and whatnot. And then during our Rim Effect Project Lita series, of course, all of the Rim Effect mods were in play, and they will be again here. So just a requirement in order to have pawns like Maddie potentially show up. She has like all that biotic stuff. She has an Omni tool. And so we'll see how everyone gets outfitted. Or how people even show up. We are using the reunion mod. So I think when we go out and get these reunion allies, they'll show up in gear that's appropriate for the type of pawn that they are, but they won't necessarily show up in the gear that we remember them from their series. So Asha was a great example in Deserters. She was a Mandalorian. She didn't show up in her like trademark red gear with the Mandalorian armor or helmet. She just showed up in pretty generic Mandalorian gear, and we had to like recraft some appropriate gear for her. Let's go ahead and I will load up our save file. We'll take a look at our map. We'll take a look at our ideology. We'll take a look at the world map. So here are the starting three colonists, Rad, Kieran, and Biaro. I'll go into more detail about their stories and their stats and whatnot in part 1. Part 0 here, just doing some like background explaining. So Ideologian, we're calling our Ideologian Nexus Escapism. So kind of the lore for this series that's brought all our characters together in one world from, separate universes, separate IPs even, is that these guys, they're out of their normal space and time. They are in kind of like a nexus that they're trying to get away from. And so they are banding together in order to do that. None of them know why they're here. None of them at least these three don't know each other at all, right? And just wanted a really low impact ideology. I always have such like lofty goals for our ideology, and then I don't really take advantage of it. But human primacy, republic, so we have multiple leaders potentially, bulk work with sharp armor bonus. We have a leader, a second triumvirate. I think I'm just going to adjust the roles here, actually, because I didn't really pay attention to that. We don't really need an animal specialist. It would be great to have the production specialist, a shooting specialist, and maybe like a melee specialist. We have a funeral, no other rituals. We don't have any ideological buildings. And we do have some charged weapon relics, kind of something that I'm borrowing from our placeholder series. So potentially we could go and get some of our pawns some better arms, basically better than that we're able to craft, especially in the beginning. And let's take a look at the world. So if we take a look at the world, we are using alpha biomes. We did settle in an alpha biome. We settled in a mechanoid intrusion. So we have some ocular forests, some gelatinous superorganism, mycotic jungle, and you'll see that there aren't very many / any friendly factions on the map. Pretty much everyone's hostile with us except the Empire, who's neutral, and we'll see where we go with that. We're definitely not like gaining favor with them. I've never, other than the Deserters series, I've never been like all out war with the Empire in just like a regular game. So we might take a look at that, but we have some sand people, which is its own separate mod. We have, this is like a den of like thievery and villainy, basically a faction from Outer Rim. And then we have some, Xeno pirates from Alpha Animals, I believe, not Alpha Animals, Alpha, Genes, I believe, and then the rest are just other kinds of pirates or other hostile factions. Potentially, we could make nice with like the piggies and the saurids to do some trading, but we're out here and kind of like on a planet in a universe that we don't really know. So I'm not expecting for it to be too friendly out here. Map-wise, it is a hot mess. There is very little growable area, and the growable area that we do have, it's all in these caves, and none of it is really fertile, right? So we have like polluted stony soil, and we have stony soil. The world is 50% pollution. Our map is 25%, 29% pollution, something like that. So there are definitely going to be places that we want to avoid on this map. The ground tiles is like polymer flooring that we can't remove. It's nice that the walk speed is 100% on it. There's also this metallic flooring I don't think that we can remove. Yeah. And the stone is actually ancient metal. So like when we mine it, instead of getting stone chunks, we'll be getting slag chunks. So potentially like tons of metal on this map, right? And it looks like there's a good amount of components. I saw that there was like some visible gold. Yeah. And there is absolutely no food. So I think we can build some tillable plant boxes. Maybe we can build those out of metal. We'll have to see. I think our first meals are going to be these spiders, basically. So we will see what we can do to get some food growing. We might have to break into this ancient danger. And then the last thing that I wanted to review was just kind of the scenario. So is it options, gameplay, storyteller settings? We are doing Winston Waves. I've never done Winston Waves before. We aren't going to be recruiting anyone. We do have reunion allies quests spawning every 5 to 10 days, and we have 18 reunion allies out in the world, so up to 3 from each series that we've had. So if we add 3 and 18, we get 21, right? So 7 series. But we usually do custom. I usually do Blood and Dust as my base. Ooh, we want to set this to losing is fun and 500%. Okay, good catch. And then I also wanted to disable children. So that is what we are doing for this playthrough. We are going to survive Winston Waves. We're going to try and rescue all of our reunion allies, and we're going to get off this planet. So anything that happens in this story is completely separate from the stories that are happening in our like Star Wars series or Rim Effect if we do a sequel to that. So on the one hand, I would say like, not consequential to those other stories and the lore that's happening there, but potentially very devastating. Like if we lose a single person, we don't have a replacement for that person. So we'll see how we do. We'll see if we can get off the world, and hopefully there'll be some characters that show up that you guys have missed or really fond of. You'll have to let me know in the comments as people show up what you think of them. Anyhow, done with the part 0 explainer. Let's go ahead and I will get to recording part 1. Thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you guys next time. Until then, have a good one. Bye.